so that we can have a copy maybe at the end of the session for review purposes. Now, today being our first session, I'll be taking you through the course overview, what we are supposed to be doing here for a couple of days to come. And then towards the end of the class, I will also give you a chance to maybe give your comments and so I'll also be taking your comments and concern towards the end of the session, and then maybe we'll also get to know each other as days go by. So we talk about Kobo Toolbox, the collection platform, and we're going to have fun, whereby we see how do we interact with data. And when you talk about interaction with data, we'll see what are these tools that you're going to use in as far as data collection is concerned. We'll go to the storage platform, and lastly, we'll also extraction. How do you use that from the server to? I can see some is joining. That's why I don't know if you're all, but you can have 2-3 minutes for the rest to maybe settle in. Okay. So let's do it. I think we will be able to set rules of engagement so that we know at what time are we starting a class, and what is expected of you, and also what is expected of me as your trainer. So let's talk about data collection. And this is one of the most important part of the whole research process, because the type of data that you're going to collect determines the insight that you're going to get. And I think I'm giving a hint of the quality to you. And now, what type of data do you interact with? What is data? So of course, our business is to collect information that we can get insights from. And of course, when you talk about first thing that should come to your mind are what are the sources of data, or what is the first instance that you're going to interact with data. In my class, I would always love to have an open session. So I'll be throwing in a question, and if you find like you're in the best position to respond, you can always raise your hand, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. Also, we can use the comment section for communication purposes. So in case you need to communicate to me and you don't have your mic, you can always use the comment section. So let me throw in a question. What are some of the sources of data that you understand, or what does it come into your mind when I talk about sources of data? Anyone wants to jump in and maybe set the ground rolling? What are some of the sources of data that we understand? Anyone who wants to try? Immaculate, proceed.
We have friends. We have primary sources of data and secondary sources of data. So among the secondary sources could be like documented data.
I think I get it. So I'm actually two sources of data. That is primary sources and just
Maybe I think Immaculate has got two gadgets that could be very disruptive.
right. Thank you. So I think those are some of the things we need to start learning from, because like I said, today is our first class, so we're going to iron out some of the concern or issues that we're going to discuss in class. So I think if you're using two devices, now you know you need to make sure one is muted, so that you don't have the echo. So Immaculate, mute your microphone so that I can take somebody else. Okay. As we wait for Immaculate to mute the microphone, I think Joshua, you wanted to say something?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
You are loud and clear.
All right. So I wanted to contribute on the sources of data, and as Immaculate had already started saying, by it's they are categorized into primary and secondary. So in primary sources, we have things like we can, do interviews, observations. We can do surveys and questionnaires. In secondary, we can do books, newspapers, and we also have other sources like social media, or things like videos, audios, so we can be able to collect data from. Thank you.
Perfect. So thanks a lot for Joshua and Immaculate. So by now we are starting to get an idea of the first instance that you are encountering data, and I think that's a good thing. So what is the take home here? So like I said, we're learning on how we'll be doing stuff in class. So I encourage you to use both. You can use two devices. Okay. So for better outcome, for those who are using a laptop and maybe a phone, one of the device can be for audio purposes. So no matter how you're organizing yourself, just make sure that when you unmute your mic and maybe you want to communicate to me, just you can put off the, what do you call it, the speaker for one of the devices. Okay, so try and see that we are not going to get those echo, but it's a good step. So when you talk about data, we've mentioned about the sources. We said primary, this is now where you have a chance to interact directly with someone who's giving you that data. And of course, there are tools that are going to be used to collect data. Secondary, we have said, whereby you're going to information that are archived in different places. We have journals, we have books, we have websites. So as long as you don't have a chance to interact directly with someone who's giving you that information, that's why we're calling it secondary. So let me throw in another question. that somebody else can try. So give me examples of some of the tools that are used
George,
for
George,
primary
I
data
think you are
collection.
breaking.
What are some of
George, I
the
think
examples that are
you are
used to
breaking.
collect your hand, and I'll give you a chance to talk to us. Examples of and out on issues that might have arisen in class. So in an event that my audio is not that good, you can always leave the meeting and then you join back. If it gets worse, then I should be the one to leave the meeting and join. So we'll bear with each other. Of course, sometimes internet might be jamming. So in case it persists, you let me know so that I should be the one to leave the meeting and then join back. But you can also be doing the same on your side. So anyone who's ready, Willis, you want to try? What are examples of? So let's set the rolling so that we move a bit fast. So examples of tools that are used for primary sources of data collection. I think the most common one is a questionnaire. So if you want to go out there and collect data, then you have to come up with a questionnaire. That one of them is questionnaire. Two, you can use what you call a KII. So when you talk about a questionnaire, of course you can have a structured or semi-structured questionnaire. And questionnaire, you will be able to collect what you call quantitative. So again, I'm bringing in some terminologies here because when you talk about data, again, now you have to break it down. Are you dealing with qualitative or quantitative? And in this class, you will have to know how to collect both. So a questionnaire is one of those tools that are used for quantitative. And then I've mentioned KII. So KII stands for a key informant interview guide. And this is where now you want to engage in some sort of interview. So of course, at some point, I'll be bringing in the research part of it, because when you are dealing with data, you have to complement research, whereby now we see how do you blend in the methodology. Of course, when I say methodology, I'll be meaning here research methodology, and now the data collection process, because as we will see later, there is a structure of conducting a research, and data collection is just one of them. So I'm bringing in the aspect of qualitative and quantitative, because now, again, when you are coming up with those sampling techniques and methodology, you will now decide which tool is going to be used for what population and what type of details are you collecting by that. So take home here is we have questionnaires that we will interact with, and questionnaires we will be able to collect quantitative. We have key informant interview guides, which are mostly used for interview session. And if you're conducting an interview session, you realize that the type of response that you're going to get are more of open-ended. You're giving your respondent a blank check for them to respond on your question, as opposed to a questionnaire whereby you can come up with a closed-ended or structured way of a respondent to give you an answer. For an interview guide, you just let them respond. So that type of data that you're collecting is what we refer as qualitative. And we will be having fun on how qualitative data is collected. So apart from KII and questionnaires, we have what we call an observation checklist, which is also another way of collecting data. And with how an observation checklist work is, one, the role of having an observation checklist is to validate or to cross-check the information that you are getting from your questionnaire to that you're getting from your qualitative, which is the informant guide. So if there's a way now you want to confirm based on what you're getting from these two groups, then a researcher can be walking around and make sure you check on the items of interest. So an overview, by now we should be able to understand why we're here. So in this class, we are going to do what we call electronic data collection platform learning, whereby we will learn what are these platforms that you can be able to collect data using electronic platform. And when I say electronic, this is where I bring in Android devices. So if you're having a tablet or you have your mobile phone, then we're going to use now a mobile application. So what are these mobile applications that we're going to talk about? So before we dive into the specifics of the course, because we have a course content that I'm presenting to you, which we will go through each of the items. So we will start by having a tool into a server. So Kobo is a platform whereby you can use to collect data. I think I've mentioned that. And then you also have a mobile application that you will be having on an Android devices, whereby your research assistant will be walking around with it so that they collect data. So there are two components that of this class. So the first one is we understand the tool that we are going to use for data collection. That's why I'll be sharing with you some of the questionnaires that we'll use in class. So that is the research part of it. How do you come up with a tool that is used for data collection? What are the questions that you want to ask? How do you frame those questions to capture the objective of the whole process or the whole survey? So once the questionnaire is ready, now we will now come to the technology part of it. And with the technology, there are two components. So one, we have the server part. So we will create a place whereby we're going to store this data. And this server is where we will also have the questionnaires coded. So what do I mean when I say code? So we'll be putting the questions in a questionnaire into that server, and we'll see how do you open a server, how do you create your own account, how does it work. So the second component of the class we say it is now the server infrastructure. And then now we'll go, after we have already placed our question in the server, now we'll see how do you link that mobile phone that a research assistant is walking around collecting data with. How do you link that with the server so that the information captured on the phone is sent directly to the server? And also we'll see what are the advantages of doing that. So when I talk about electronic, what is the alternative to that? Or let's understand first the history. How are things have been done before, and why are we moving towards the electronic platform? So as much as we understand there are two sources of data, when you talk about methods of collecting data, we also had two. So we had the traditional processes whereby you could go and print papers or questionnaires, and then these questionnaires is what you walk around giving to your respondent. So that's what we refer as traditional method. Now, as you are aware, that process comes with a lot of challenges. A good example right now with these weather changes, you don't want to be out there with pieces of paper conducting your research, because when the rains comes in, you know the trouble that you will be in. Okay, let's talk about the cost implication of the same. You're doing a survey maybe in the entire country.